Ouija boards can be fun. Well, only if you're into spooky stuff. There's a good reason why it remains the choice game for a Halloween party. Only brave and die-hard folks can play Ouija at midnight on Halloween and sleep without getting nightmares. In case you've never heard of it, the Ouija is a talking board. On the board, there's an arrangement of numbers and alphabets, and also a pointer or planchette. To play the game, you and your partner must hold the pointer down on the board and ask a question. A mysterious force would move the piece on the board to the numbers or letters that would spell out the answer. It's like talking to an unseen entity through the board. The origin of the Ouija is as mysterious as its gameplay. The most we know about Ouija is that it was birthed back during the Civil War. At the time, American folks were obsessed with talking to the dead. And so, when reports came in about a group of people who communicated with the dead through talking boards, it just seemed so convenient. Quickly, a smart entrepreneur gathered funds and started manufacturing Ouija boards, and it began to sell massively. And the years following then, Ouija boards have never been forgotten. Everything about this board is mysterious, even its name. It is said that when the manufacturer was confused about what official name to give the board, he decided to ask the board. It spelled out the name Ouija. Till today, no one has truly been able to decipher what this word means. It doesn't match any language. When the manufacturer asked the board what Ouija meant, it replied, "Good luck." That seems comforting, right? Wrong, as you'll find out in this video. What people experience with Ouija is far from good luck. It's more like bad luck or just plain horror. In the entire history of Ouija boards, only one person ever got good luck from using Ouija: the late Pearl Curran. Pearl Curran was a famous writer who wrote several novels, prose, and poetry. She did all these under the pen name Patience Worth. But you see, this was no ordinary pen name. It was the name of the spirit she encountered while playing Ouija. According to her, the spirit was the source of inspiration for all her literary works. Because her literary works were exceptionally brilliant, most people believed her claim. Many folks concurred that there was no way the simple-looking Pearl Curran could whip up phenomenal literary works like that. Pearl made quite a name for herself and some good cash too. But most people aren't that lucky. You see, Ouija boards have always been associated with the paranormal. Some spiritualists even consider this board pure evil because it communicates with demons, not dead spirits. If you think all these are tales, maybe you'll change your mind when you hear these scary real-life Ouija stories shared online. This first story was shared by a guy named Cody. When this event happened, Cody was in his mid-20s. Before this time, he had never touched an Ouija board because he wasn't really interested in it. And frankly, he never even believed in the supernatural. However, one fateful day, he got an invitation from his friend, George, to come on an adventure. George had just started dating a girl named Mandy at the time, and she was a big fan of the supernatural and had a thing for exploring haunted houses. She had brought George along on a previous adventure, and so George thought to bring Cody in on the next one. At first, Cody was reluctant to accept the invitation, but he obliged when George informed him that Mandy was bringing along a cute friend. And so the two set out that night. It was quite late. About 11 p.m., George and Cody drove in their car and then picked up the girls. On the road to the haunted house, Cody learned more about Mandy's friend. Her name was Carly. She was red-haired and wore a nose ring. Not long before they arrived, Mandy unleashed a surprise package she had brought along for the trip: a Ouija board. She also brought some candles. Apparently, she wanted them to play with the Ouija right there in the haunted house. Spooky, right? Yeah, Cody thought so too, but no one objected. Soon they arrived at the house and climbed in through an open window at the back. Inside, Cody followed the group as they observed some parts of the house. Everywhere they went, the air seemed strange. In Cody's words, he said, "I don't scare easily, but I must admit being in there at night was very eerie. It would probably be very terrifying alone." Mandy then set up the board on the floor and lit the 2 candles. According to Cody, she seemed very serious about all of it. Meanwhile, Heath and George were pretty much less concerned. Then the game started. At first, the Ouija didn't reply, but after several questions, it slowly spelled hello. Cody and George laughed at this cause they thought it was the girls moving the planchette. But the girls weren't laughing. Mandy asked the board its name, and it spelled out Gregory. She asked its age, and it replied 30. The game continued until suddenly, they all heard a loud thump from upstairs. Everyone jolted with fear, wondering who it was. But Mandy insisted it was their new Ouija friend, Gregory. Cody and George didn't want to continue anymore. They wanted to leave. But then, they heard footsteps upstairs above them. They decided to check out what it was. The girls kept begging them not to go, but they did anyway. They traced the sound to a bedroom, and their eyes caught the attention of a closet that was cracked open. They listened closely and suddenly heard the sound of someone exhaling behind the door. That was it. George and Cody freaked out and ran, but they were in for quite a surprise. Upon getting back to the sitting room, they couldn't find the girls anymore. Instead, they met a dark room. Girls, the Ouija, candles, everything was gone. Frightened like little boys, the duo escaped through the window and ran back to the car. The girls were not there either. George called Mandy again and again, but it never went through. They quickly left and returned home. That was the last time they ever saw Mandy or her friend. Till today, no one knows if the girls got consumed by a paranormal being or if they escaped the house. Some people even believe the girls may have been ghosts or supernatural beings. But whichever case, it was clear that something supernatural went down that night, and the Ouija board had a hand in it. Our next story is still quite disturbing, to say the least. The guy in this story was a fanatic for anything horror or supernatural. He goes by the name George Grosco. According to George, he had read scary stories on Ouija boards, so he decided to try it one fateful Halloween. He was 15 years old at the time and had a little sister. One fateful night when his parents were away, he brought out the board and convinced his little sis to try it out with him. He set it out on the dining table, dimmed the lights, and started the game. He asked some questions, but the planchette didn't move. After a while, they both got tired and left. However, George found out from many Ouija stories online that most people didn't get replies from the Ouija the first time they tried. And so, as a diehard scarecrow, he went a second time. It was around 1 a.m., and his sis was already asleep. He asked the Ouija some questions, but it never moved. However, in that instant, something strange happened. He began to hear soft footsteps from upstairs, followed by a muffled female voice. There was nobody at home except him and his sister, so this was very strange. He traced the voice to his brother's room upstairs. Mind you, his brother was away at college. As he shakily went upstairs and approached the door, the voice became louder. It was a low, strong voice, nothing like his sister's. It sounded more like an old woman. At first, George couldn't make out what it said, but as Ash got closer, he finally did. The voice kept repeating was, in quiet, "Grandma's here, Georgie." And it was exactly at that moment that he realized it was the voice of his dead grandma. Fear gripped George instantly. In his own words, he said, "I felt every hair on my body stand up." I opened the door and turned on the light. No one was inside. I ran to my room, shut the door, locked it, and curled up under the sheets. I felt the whole room spinning. George was too shaken to sleep that night, even after saying a prayer. His story is similar to countless others shared by people from all over the world. It's stories like these that make you wonder what could be the force behind an Ouija board. Spirits, demons, or just our imagination.